My name is Brenda Kogendorf, and I'm Vice President for Enrollment and Dean of Admissions at Financial Aid at Roanoke College. And the folks here asked me to help talk to you tonight about writing the essay as part of your application. And so what I thought we'd do is just, we've all got a little bit to share, but I thought I would start out by giving you just some, they may seem random, but they're really not random, but thoughts on the process from seeing it from our side. I've been in admissions and financial aid now for over 30 years, and so I've read a few essays that students have sent along the way, and I can tell you a little bit about what makes them stand out, one either in a positive or a negative way. They're going to stand out in a positive way. So let me just share some of those observations really with you, and then we can open it up for questions, and we want to make sure we hit all the things that you are thinking about right now. Might be helpful to know how many of you students, what year are you?
Senior.
Senior, good, congratulations.
Junior.
Junior?
I'm senior.
And senior, okay, good. So you're getting to that point of either having to do it now or beginning to really think about it seriously. Let me first just say that the essay is one piece of the application. It's one of the puzzle pieces that the colleges will look at. It's not the only thing, as you know. It fits in to give us a more complete picture. Typically, we'll look at your high school transcripts. So we want to know what kinds of courses you've taken. Have you challenged yourself? How have you done those courses? We look at your scores, and as you know, sometimes the scores can be optional given what college you're looking at. And then recommendations tell part of the puzzle, part of the picture. And your essay is another important piece of it. You are much more than a series of test scores and grades. There's a lot more to you that we at the colleges want to get to know about. That's part of the beauty of the essay for us, is that we get to know you beyond all those other pieces that are in your application. Some colleges will have the essay as a requirement, others will make it optional to you. So pay attention to that as you're looking at different colleges. Is it required, and is it optional? If it's required, are they setting certain parameters for you? Do they have topics that you can write on, either that you can select from among a few, or there's a set topic everybody writes on, or is it just completely wide open to you? For example, at Roanoke, we like to have an essay, but we leave the topic up to you. So in that case, if you were doing an essay for another college that you felt comfortable with and they gave you a specific topic or prompt, we'd be happy to have that as well. One caution on that one, if you put that other college's name in it, you might want to change it before you send it. You get those. I want to go to X college, not Roanoke, because, and they go on to tell other reasons. Be careful with that type of thing. That sounds silly, but we see it quite often actually. As you know, in any kind of writing, the most important thing is for it to be well written. You don't want to just do it at the last minute and sort of slap something together. You want to be thoughtful about it, think about what you want to say, how you're going to convey it. I would say make a point of showing and not telling whatever it is you're trying to say. Use examples, just like you're writing papers for high school. It's really that type of thing. You don't have to look up sources and document it that way. It's not a research paper, but use examples whenever you can to make whatever point it is that you're trying to make when you're writing that essay. One of the ways that if it's wide open to you that, and you're thinking, well, where do I even start? What do you want me to tell you? What kind of an essay would you like to have? I would think about all the other pieces of your application and think, what do I want this college to know about me that's not already there in the other pieces that they've got? And find something within that's a little different or complements that. I would say to find something that you're passionate about. It's easier to write about something that you're excited about, and it comes through when we read it. So find something that is something very important to you that you feel strongly about one way or the other, and then write about that. That would be the best way I would tell you to go about it. Some colleges will give you a length. It has to be a certain number of words. I know on the Common application this year, they have an essay requirement there. There is a certain length of that essay. I think it's 250 word minimum. So, pay attention to that type of thing. Others won't stipulate that. I would say make it long enough to say what you want to say, and don't make it any longer than that. We read a lot of essays, and if you're just doing pages to impress somebody, not that you would, but some people do, stop when you're done saying whatever it is you're trying to say, and then move on. But that's all we need, is a sample of how, what we're really looking for is how do you think, and then how do you convey that thinking in your writing. That's what we are after, okay? I would also caution you in thinking about topics to stay away from what I call Miss America topics. You know, you don't think you have to say some big thing, you're going to save the world, and you know, if you have big things to say, then you are going to save the world, tell us about it. But don't feel compelled that you have to do the Miss America, you know, I'm going to make peace on earth kind of thing. We want to know you and make it genuine. That's better. We can tell the difference when we're reading it. This is going to sound really strange, but I'll tell you a little story. Be sure, this is the strange part, but be sure to have someone else, at least one other someone else, read your essay. And don't rely on spell check to do that part for you. I was on a scholarship committee one year, about 10 years ago, and this was for a full ride scholarship. And we had a number of scholarships. The committee was sitting around a table reading, and all of a sudden, one of the deans, she was delightful, she was from France, and she was just fun to work with. She started to giggle. And then somebody else started to, we all said, what's so funny? And then pretty soon someone else started sort of giggling. The student had, the question was something about something in our community, because it was a scholarship for local students. Tell us about something in our community that needs attention, and how would you address it if you were in a position to do so? So this student was writing about her father, who was a police officer, and how important it is to uphold the public order. But she did not use the word public in her entire essay. It was a different word. Had one person read that essay before she turned it in, we wouldn't have been that way, but she didn't know. That's so simple. We all do that. That's very easy to do, and when you're reading your own thing, you tend to overlook that kind of stuff. So do have somebody else look at it for you. The last thing that I wanted to say about it is, at least off the top, I've got questions, is, no, I lost it. Make it genuine. I lost it completely. Sorry. Got sidetracked. I'll come back to it if I think of it. Do you have things to add, or do you have questions specifically about the essay that you wanted to know about?
The minimum is 250 words. Is there a good length beyond that? I mean, is there a length that you go, wait, that's just way too much? Or it's just depending on the essay?
It depends on the school, too.
It does depend on the school.
Some will be minimum more than that. It could be a minimum 500, 550.
It could be.
It really does depend on the school.
You know, you don't get points for making it long if you're being redundant. Right. So if you can say what you want to say and the requirement is 500 words and you use 510 and you've said what you need to say, then that's good. You don't get extra points for making it 1,000 if they ask for 500.
You want to be as concise as
Unless
possible.
it's compelling. Yeah. Right.
You don't want to add a lot of fluff just because you don't want to add fluff. I want to make it longer just to make it longer. It's not necessary.
And you know, I was going to say, you want to be accurate, kind of like what she was saying, not just with spell check, but you know, a lot of times students want to show that they're educated or learning, and so they'll quote something from one person and really somebody else said it, you know. So you want to pay attention to those kinds of things. And the other thing is to remember, you're talking about a personal story. If you were going out on a date with somebody, you wouldn't give just the basic general things about you. You tell the really important things that show what really distinguishes you from somebody else. There was something I ran across once that was talking about, if you look at a Big Mac, okay? If you go to San Francisco and order a Big Mac, have you ever had a Big Mac before? You haven't? Okay, all right. But somebody may have had a Big Mac or a cheeseburger. Okay, all right. So, you know, with a Big Mac, you've got what? The sesame bun, you've got the special sauce, you've got the 2 beef patties. That's going to be the exact same thing whether you're in Tokyo, whether you're in San Francisco, whether you're in Richmond. It's going to be exactly the same. So when you're writing an essay, you might be sending an essay to a school, like some of the neighboring schools here in town, that hire readers. Okay? They're not necessarily people that are on staff regularly at that university. And their job is to sit there and read through the essays. So you want to keep their attention. You don't want to say the same thing that somebody else is going to say that sounds exactly the same from place to place, just like that Big Mac tastes the same from one place to the other. We got to have something that really distinguishes you from the next person. And so,
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, that's a great point. I would say, and go beyond just describing something to us. If you're telling us about an event, let's say, we had an essay one time that they were a lot of fun to read. Tell us about your most embarrassing moment, and then what did you learn from it? The what did you learn from it part was the insightful part, as far as we were concerned in reading it. So, you know, yes, it was funny to have people convey these stories and events to us, but that didn't tell us anything much really about the student. It was what they learned from it part that told us. So go beyond just the description.
Yeah, there's a saying, a winning essay isn't an essay. So the whole idea is to make it unique.
If I have to choose between unique and something that could be more common but is more of a part of who I am, which one should I choose?
Great question.
I think you should combine it.
Yeah, combine it.
You
Because-
are, but unique to you.
Right.
It could be a common thing. I like to play whatever sport. I like to watch this. That should be my thing, I'm sorry. But it needs to be unique to your story. It should be personal to you. So when they're reading it, they don't want to think it's Susie Joe. They want to know that it's your story.
There's one general thing, and I don't like to necessarily do things that are necessarily scripted, because you look at certain questions that are asked at various universities, but sometimes some students need a little something to go off of. Okay, so you know, one of the things that I look at when working with students, my area is really psychology, and so my interest is finding out more about people. So whether it's helping somebody with a college essay, or whether it's a kid trying to figure out how do I approach this girl in a way that's comfortable, it's all the same stuff. It's how do you present yourself a certain way. But one of the things that you look at is sometimes to give somebody a JavaScript to go off of and talk about what you think, what you feel, and what you intend to do. Okay? And so if you can talk about how you think about the specific question that's being asked, you can say, well, my thoughts are that when such and such and such happened to me, this was my experience. I feel like if I went ahead and handled it this way, maybe this might have been the consequence, but I may not have learned as much as I possibly could. I intend to go ahead and possibly come to your school. You don't want to just make it sound generic, like I intend to come to your school and study X, Y, and Z. Okay? There's a lot of people who are going to do that. But you can talk about how your intentions are to use it to make yourself, I guess I could say, take what you learn and apply it and do more with it, or become a better person, a person who's going to help the community. Schools want to know that when you come to that institution, you're not just a student, you're going to affect that community. Okay? You're going to change that environment. So what do you as a person contribute? So the essay, on one hand, can be the easiest part. It can be the most challenging part, depending on how comfortable you are with yourself, too. But if you keep to it with just writing about yourself, you don't have to make up a whole lot of stuff. And they don't want to know the resume, the list of all the things that you did. Keep it concise.
You know, and this is, I now remember what I was going to say earlier, this is also an opportunity for you oftentimes to shine or tell us how you shine. I was telling this to another student this evening. We're taught to be humble about ourselves, and that's a good thing, but if you don't tell us what you're really good at and what you're really excited about and what kind of, you know, awards and things, honors you've received along the way, and maybe your essay isn't the place to do it, but there are other places in the application to do it, please don't be overly humble about it, because if you don't tell us, we won't know. And I will say, if you're not sure, have your parents look at it. We love to brag about our kids. I have 2 teenage daughters, and I love to tell stories about them and tell how they shine. We all do that. So have your parents help you with that. That part is important. It may not be in the essay, but you could have it in the essay. The other part of it that is really an emerging thing that I see happening in higher education is this thing called demonstrated interest. And if your essay is a place that gives you a chance to demonstrate your interest in a college, then find a way to do that. You don't have to, but if it's not in the essay and you're really interested in a particular college, do it another way. There is one, Rhodes College, for example, in Tessie, I believe. they do demonstrated interest. They will not admit students who have 4.0, 1,400 SATs if the student has not done certain things and demonstrate interest. They want students there who want to be there. And it sounds crazy, but I'm hearing this from more and more colleges. So if you are really gung-ho on college, maybe there's something in your essay you can do to promote that a little bit.
What if a school says, write to one or more of these 5 essays? Do they really want more than one? Or, I mean, how do you choose? I've heard that essays, they don't want to read books.
It's a good question. I would say give people what they ask for one. But if you're passionate, if you're more passionate about something, then that's what I would choose to write about.
If they say one or more, I've not heard that, but I would say do at least a couple. I wouldn't do 5 for them, but I'd do more than one.
The two that you're most passionate about.
Yeah. And usually, when it's like that, they do give you topics, when it is a 1 or, well, it's usually like 1 to 2. They'll say 1 minimum, 2 or 3 maximum. They'll say like that, something more along those lines. And for the students here, remember that you will be working on this in your 12th grade English class. So don't freak out. They will talk about it in your English class. I believe the counselor did come in and talk to you guys about the application process. And they did touch on the college essay portion. Not a lot, because we've been doing this, but you will work on it in your 12th grade English class as well. You can talk to your English teachers when it comes to this. You can talk to Miss Neal. She's the college and career counselor. She would help you with things like this as well. So you have resources in the school to help you with this type of work.
And the last thing I would say is do some research about the school. Okay? If you were applying for a job or you move into a city or whatever, you want to do some research. Okay? And so if you know, for example, I spent some time working around the corner from Rhodes, actually, in Memphis for like a year. And the thing about a lot of schools is they like to brag about certain things that they do, okay? And in Memphis, University of Memphis, they have this saying, dreamers, thinkers, doers, okay? Those are the kinds of things that they want their students to be about, okay? But if you know, for example, that your school that you're applying to is on the cutting edge of genetics, okay? And you're a math and science person, tie that in there, okay? Talk about, what kinds of things you want to learn and what types of things you think maybe you'd like to add to the institution. Those things help, I think, the admissions people to know also what your focus is, what it is you're interested in. And I think if people see that there's someone that they can say, hey, you know what, this is going to be a great addition to our campus for the next 4 years, they'll value that, and I think it'll help. Definitely it'll help.
Did you understand what I meant about the Miss America kind of thing? Let me give you another example on that one. I worked for a college that had ties to Abraham Lincoln, and so we had a Lincoln Scholarship Program. And the first year we did it, we said part of the scholarship criteria, because that's another place you might write an essay, is not just for admission, but to get into the scholarship or honors program. We wanted, I can't remember, I think we left it open-ended. I'm pretty sure we did. We got 400 essays about Abraham Lincoln, and after the 30th one, it was awful. I mean, we already knew about Abraham Lincoln, and they were not, the students had done a good job on it. I don't mean that they hadn't written them well, but after you read a few of them, it was really hard to keep reading about the same guy. It was hard to distinguish one from the other, which is why next year we asked about your most embarrassing moment and what you ever remember. We can't do that again. But the students were thinking, I give them all credit for that. It's called the Lincoln Scholarship Program, so you want to know something, I'll tell you about Lincoln. Maybe there was a twist that they could have done on the theme that wouldn't have been everybody telling us about Abraham Lincoln and all the things we kind of already know about. So think about that kind of thing as well. Because you don't, what I'm trying to guide you on is do something that's going to stand out, and if everybody's thinking, okay, I got to write about Abraham Lincoln, you want to do a different variation on that.
You guys have any more questions?
I have a question. So like the people reading the essays are or are not looking at all the other information also.
Depends on the school.
Depends on the school.
So
they don't really want to, so I'm not sure, I know they don't want to list everything that they've already listed, you know, but do they want to put any of that in, you know, like their regular schedule and, you know, stuff like that?
I think that unless it's part of a story, I would not do that. If there's a story in there that you can wrap it around, then okay. But you know, college or university, whether one person's reading or a group are reading or different people are doing different parts of the reading of the application, you know, you're going to get sort of points for certain things along the way in every category, and so it's not necessary that you do that. Usually on essays, readers are looking for what was your point, what were you trying to convey, how well did you convey that, and was there any feeling and, you know, sincerity in it. So, does that help?
Yeah.
Yeah, the essay is more of a person, it's more idea of a personal statement, more so than a eloquent way of stating a resume.
Right. And you know, this may not apply to any of you, but if there's something, sometimes we see a transcript where 4 years look pretty good and there's one semester or something that kind of doesn't fit the rest. And we always wonder, what happened, what that's about. And unless there's something in a recommendation that tells us, or the students, sometimes we find it in the essay, the student will say, you know, some big thing happened, or, you know, they'll find a way to put that into their essay. That's helpful too, but you don't have to. Anything about any other parts of the process? We can, since you got us here.
Have you all, the seniors, are you seniors? Have you met with your counselor yet?
Yeah.
Have you? And you said you were junior?
That's right.
One of the things that I'll just offer to, again, being on this side of the desk, is once you know what schools you're going to apply to, do it sooner rather than later, because, for example, at Roanoke, we get 30,000 students a year who say, I'm interested in coming next fall. And we try to be personal in our get to know students, but we've got 8 admissions people and we can't get to know 30,000 people. But once a student has visited or they just know they want to apply and they step out of that group and into the 4,500 applications we're going to get, now we can work on them on a one-to-one basis. And not all colleges are that way, but think about that, because the colleges are, that's why they ask you to write an essay. They're anxious, we're anxious to get to know you. So anything you can do to sort of step out of the crowd helps you and helps us. And in the end, what we're trying to do is find the best fit, help you find the best fit, you and the college. So think of the essay in that regard too. What can you tell us to help us best assess the fit? Good luck to you.
Thank you all for coming tonight.